Ever notice how the most selfish person you know would be genuinely shocked if you called them selfish? They'd probably list 10 reasons why they're actually the generous one. That's not a coincidence. That's psychology. And once you understand why it happens, you'll never look at selfish behavior the same way again. I'm your friend from Mindly, where we break down the psychology behind everyday behaviors. And today, we're talking about something that affects every single relationship you have: selfishness. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly why selfish people can't see their own behavior, how to spot the subtle signs you're dealing with someone who always puts themselves first, and most importantly, what to do about it without losing your mind in the process. Because here's the thing, selfishness doesn't always look like someone grabbing the last slice of pizza. Sometimes it's way more subtle than that, and way more damaging. The hidden nature of selfishness. Let's be real for a second. When most people think of selfish behavior, they picture someone obviously greedy, someone who never shares, someone who's clearly only out for themselves. But that's not how it usually shows up in real life. Real selfishness? It's dressed up. It's justified. It's wrapped in perfectly reasonable explanations that make you question whether you're the problem for even noticing it. Selfishness is basically when someone consistently prioritizes their own needs, wants, and comfort over everyone else's, even when it hurts the people around them. And the really wild part? They genuinely don't see it. Their brain has created this whole narrative where they're just taking care of themselves, setting boundaries, being honest, or my personal favorite, just being real. Here's what selfish people actually sound like. Listen for these phrases. I'm just being honest. Translation: I'm about to say something hurtful and I don't want to take responsibility for it. You're too sensitive. Translation: your feelings are inconvenient to me right now. I would do it, but I'm just so busy. Yet somehow, they're never too busy for what they want to do. After everything I've done for you, keeping score is a selfish person's favorite hobby. I need to focus on myself right now. This one's tricky because self-care is real, but they say this always, every time, for years. You know I'm not good at that stuff. They've made their limitations your responsibility. I didn't think it was a big deal. Your feelings weren't even on their radar. Can't you just be happy for me? When they expect you to celebrate them, but can't show up when you need support. And here's the kicker. When you point out these patterns, they'll make you feel like you're being unfair. Like you're keeping score. Like you're the one with the problem. The story of Marcus and his best friend. Let me tell you about Marcus. He's got this friend, Derek, who he's known since college. Marcus considers Derek one of his closest friends. They text regularly, hang out every few weeks, the whole deal. Last month, Marcus's dad was diagnosed with cancer. Pretty serious stuff. Marcus called Derek the day he found out because that's what you do, right? You call your close friends when something devastating happens. Derek answered, listened for maybe 2 minutes, said, "Man, that's rough," and then, "Hey, speaking of health stuff, I've been trying this new workout routine and bro, the results are insane. I'm down 15 pounds. Marcus just sat there, phone to his ear, as Derek went on for 20 minutes about his gym schedule, his protein intake, his new personal trainer. Not a single follow-up question about Marcus's dad. Not one, "How are you holding up?" Nothing. The next week, Marcus was at the hospital with his family. His phone buzzed. "Derek, dude, where have you been? I texted you 3 days ago about grabbing drinks and you never responded. Everything cool?" Marcus stared at that message. 3 days ago, he'd been watching his dad go through his first round of chemo. And Derek was upset about a missed text about drinks. Here's what's happening in Derek's brain. He genuinely doesn't think he did anything wrong. In his mind, he listened to Marcus. He responded. He even said it was rough. Then he changed the subject to something more positive because, who wants to sit in that heavy stuff? And when Marcus didn't respond about drinks, Derek felt ignored. He felt like Marcus wasn't being a good friend. No joke. That's actually how his brain processed it. This is classic selfish behavior. It's not that Derek hates Marcus or wants to hurt him. It's that Derek's emotional universe has himself at the center, and everyone else is just orbiting. How selfishness shows up everywhere. Now let's talk about how this plays out in different areas of life, because selfish people aren't selfish in just one way. It's a pattern that seeps into everything. At work, they're the coworker who takes credit for team projects. They'll use "we" when things go wrong and "I" when things go right. They'll ask you to cover their shift, but somehow never be available when you need the same favor. In meetings, they'll interrupt constantly but get visibly annoyed if someone talks over them. In romantic relationships? Oh, this is where it gets really messy. They'll want you to meet their needs, emotional support, physical intimacy, quality time, but when you express your needs, suddenly it's pressure or demands or you're being needy. They'll remember every nice thing they've ever done for you and bring it up in arguments, but they won't remember your birthday without a Facebook reminder. Watch what happens when you're sick. A selfish partner might bring you soup and then complain about how they had to go out of their way. They might sit with you while scrolling through their phone and sighing every few minutes. The care comes with a price tag of resentment. With family, it's the sibling who only calls when they need something. The parent who makes every conversation about their problems, their health, their drama. The adult child who expects their parents to drop everything to babysit but can't be bothered to visit on holidays. Here's a scenario that'll sound familiar. It's Thanksgiving. Everyone's supposed to bring a dish. The selfish family member shows up empty-handed again with some excuse about how crazy their week was. But you know what? Their week is always crazy when there's effort required. Never too crazy to accept the meal everyone else prepared, though. And with friends? They're the ones who only reach out when they need something. When they're going through a breakup, you'll hear from them daily. Multiple texts, long phone calls, hours of support. Then they get into a new relationship and crickets. Until the next crisis. Your life updates, your struggles, your wins? They'll give you a quick, "that's great," and immediately pivot back to themselves. The brain science nobody talks about. So what's actually happening in the brain of a selfish person? Because I promise you, they're not sitting around thinking, "how can I be more selfish today?" They genuinely don't see it. There's this concept in psychology called egocentrism bias. Basically, our brains are wired to experience our own thoughts, feelings, and experiences more vividly than anyone else's. That's normal. We all have it. But in selfish people, this bias is cranked up to 11. They literally can't fully process that other people's internal experiences are just as real and important as theirs. Think about it like this. When you're hungry, you feel it. It's real, it's physical, it's urgent. When someone else is hungry, you understand it intellectually, but you don't feel it. Selfish people get stuck there. They feel their own discomfort intensely, but everyone else's needs are just concepts. Abstract ideas that don't carry emotional weight. There's also something called the spotlight effect, the tendency to think people are paying more attention to us than they actually are. Selfish people have an extreme version of this. They assume their problems are more significant, their time is more valuable, their feelings are more justified. Not because they're evil, but because their brain's constantly telling them they're the main character and everyone else is a supporting role. Neurologically, this ties into the default mode network, the part of your brain that's active when you're not focused on the outside world. You know, when you're daydreaming or thinking about yourself. That's your default mode network. Research shows that people with low empathy have overactive default mode networks. They're stuck in self-referential thinking. Even when they're with other people, their brain keeps pulling them back to themselves. And here's the evolutionary angle. Being selfish, to some degree, kept our ancestors alive. Resources were scarce. If you gave away all your food, you died. So our brains evolved to prioritize self-preservation. But we also evolved to live in communities, which required cooperation and empathy. Selfish people basically got stuck with the first part and didn't fully develop the second part. They're running on ancient survival software in a modern world that requires emotional intelligence. Emma's reality check. Emma had been dating Tyler for 8 months. Pretty serious relationship. They'd said, "I love you," talked about moving in together, the whole thing. One Saturday, Emma's best friend from childhood was in town for just one day. They'd planned this months ago: brunch, shopping, catching up. Emma hadn't seen her in 2 years. Friday night, Tyler mentioned his company was having a surprise team building thing on Saturday. "You should come," he said. "It'll be fun. Everyone's bringing their partners." Emma explained about her friend. Tyler's face fell. "Seriously? I told everyone you'd be there. I'm gonna look like an idiot showing up alone. Can you just reschedule with your friend?" Emma tried to explain that her friend was leaving Sunday morning. This was the only day. Tyler got quiet. Then came the guilt trip. "I show up to all your stuff. I met your parents. I went to your work party even though I didn't know anyone. But the one time I asked you to do something for me." Emma ended up splitting the day. Cut her friend time short, showed up to Tyler's event stressed and exhausted. Tyler was happy for about 20 minutes, then spent the rest of the event on his phone, barely talking to her. 2 weeks later, Tyler canceled on Emma's sister's wedding, an event they'd RSVP'd to months ago, because his fantasy football league was having their draft party the same day. When Emma got upset, Tyler said, "It's just different. This is my league. We've been doing this for years. Your sister will understand." That's when it clicked for Emma. In Tyler's world, his priorities were always more important. His events were mandatory. Her events were optional. His feelings were valid. Her feelings were overreactions. The long-term damage. Here's what most people don't realize until it's too late. Being in a close relationship with a selfish person doesn't just annoy you. It actually changes you. You start second-guessing yourself constantly. Am I being too needy? Am I asking for too much? Maybe I am too sensitive. You internalize their narrative. Over time, you might find yourself making their needs your priority automatically, not even asking for what you need anymore because you already know the response you'll get. Your self-esteem takes a hit. When someone consistently treats their needs as more important than yours, you start believing your needs are less important. You become smaller, quieter. You learn to not take up space. In family dynamics, one selfish person can throw off the whole system. Everyone else learns to work around them, accommodate them, manage them. And usually, there's one person who bears the brunt of it, often the most empathetic family member who keeps trying to fix things. Professionally, having a selfish coworker means you're probably doing more work than you should. You're covering their mistakes, picking up their slack, making them look good while your own contributions go unnoticed. And when you finally stop, you're the one who looks uncooperative. The really insidious part? Selfish people are often really good at looking generous in specific, visible ways. They'll post about charity on social media. They'll volunteer when it makes them look good. They'll help when there's an audience. But in private, when no one's watching, when it's just you needing something, that's when the truth shows up. How to protect yourself. So what do you actually do when you realize you're dealing with someone who's fundamentally selfish? First, trust your gut. If you consistently feel drained, unimportant, or like you're giving way more than you're getting, that's real. Don't let them convince you you're imagining it. Second, test the pattern. Next time they ask for something, say no. Just once. Watch what happens. A healthy person might be disappointed, but they'll understand. A selfish person will react like you've betrayed them. They might guilt trip you, give you the silent treatment, or bring it up in future arguments. Third, stop expecting them to change. This is hard, but crucial. You cannot explain your way into making a selfish person suddenly understand reciprocity. You can tell them exactly how their behavior affects you, and they'll either make it about their feelings, "I feel attacked," or make excuses, "I've just been stressed." Fourth, set clear boundaries and stick to them. "I can't cover your shift this time" means exactly that. No long explanations. No justifications. Selfish people will push back on boundaries hard because boundaries are inconvenient to them. Fifth, reduce your expectations. This sounds depressing, but it's actually freeing. Stop expecting emotional support from someone who's never provided it. Stop expecting them to remember important things about your life. Accept the relationship for what it is, not what you wish it was. If it's a coworker, keep things professional. Document your work. Don't volunteer to help them unless you're genuinely okay with getting nothing in return. If it's a family member, limit your time and emotional investment. You can love someone from a distance. You can show up to holidays without sharing your real life with them. If it's a romantic partner, this is your wake-up call. Selfishness in romantic relationships doesn't get better with time. It gets worse. They're showing you who they are. Believe them. And look, if you're reading this thinking, wait, am I the selfish one? That moment of self-reflection actually means you're probably not. Selfish people don't tend to question their behavior. But if you're genuinely concerned, here's a simple test. When's the last time you did something genuinely inconvenient for someone else's benefit? When's the last time you asked someone about their life and actually listened to the answer? When's the last time you celebrated someone else's success without making it about you? If you're drawing blanks, it might be time for some honest self-evaluation. The real reason this happens. Here's what all of this actually means, and this is the part that ties everything together. Selfishness isn't actually about not caring about other people. It's about being trapped in your own experience so completely that other people's experiences feel less real. It's a failure of imagination. Selfish people can't fully imagine what it's like to be someone else because they've never practiced it. Their empathy muscles are atrophied. And here's the twist. Many selfish people have convinced themselves they're actually incredibly empathetic. They'll say things like, "I'm so sensitive," or "I feel things really deeply." And they do. They feel their own things deeply. That's not the same as empathy. Empathy is feeling what someone else is feeling. They've confused self-absorption with emotional depth. The most selfish people I've ever met have also been some of the most insecure people I've ever met. That's not a coincidence. When you're constantly worried about whether you have enough, whether you're okay, whether people value you, you don't have mental or emotional energy left to genuinely consider others. It's like trying to swim while drowning. You're in survival mode all the time. But here's what you need to understand. Their inability to see beyond themselves doesn't make their impact on you any less real. You can have compassion for why they're the way they are and still protect yourself from the damage they cause. Those two things can both be true. Myths and truths. Myth 1. Selfish people are just confident and know what they want. Truth. Confidence includes the ability to consider others. Selfishness is often a mask for deep insecurity and fear that there's not enough attention, enough resources, enough love to go around. Myth 2. If you just explain how their behavior affects you, they'll change. Truth. Selfish people already know their behavior affects you. They just don't prioritize it. Explaining it better won't suddenly flip a switch. They'd have to want to change, and most don't because their current approach works for them. Myth 3. Selfish people don't care about anyone. Truth. Many selfish people do care in their own limited way. They're just incapable of caring when it costs them something. Their caring has conditions and limits that healthy caring doesn't have. Myth 4. Setting boundaries with a selfish person makes you just as selfish. Truth. Protecting yourself from someone who consistently takes advantage isn't selfish. It's self-preservation. There's a massive difference between having boundaries and having no empathy. Myth 5. Really selfish people know they're selfish. Truth. This is the biggest misconception. Most selfish people genuinely believe they're generous, misunderstood, or even victims. Their brain has created an entire narrative where they're actually the one who gives more and gets less. Myth 6. You can love someone enough to make them less selfish. Truth. Your love, your patience, your understanding won't fix this. Change has to come from within them, usually through significant self-reflection or professional help. Most selfish people won't seek that out because, again, they don't see the problem. What this means for you. So here's where we land. Selfishness isn't always obvious. It's not always someone stealing your fries or refusing to share. Sometimes it's subtle, consistent, and wrapped in excuses that sound almost reasonable. The people who are most exhausted by selfish individuals are usually the most empathetic people. Because you keep trying to understand. You keep making excuses for them. You keep thinking if you just explain it differently, they'll get it. But understanding someone doesn't mean you have to accept behavior that hurts you. You can't fix someone who doesn't think they're broken. You can't teach empathy to someone who doesn't want to learn it. What you can do is recognize the pattern, stop making excuses for it, and decide how much of yourself you're willing to give to someone who won't give back. The next time someone in your life consistently makes everything about them, dismisses your feelings, or expects you to accommodate them while they never accommodate you, believe the pattern. The first time might be an accident. The 10th time is who they are. Your needs matter. Your time matters. Your feelings matter. And anyone who makes you question that repeatedly isn't someone who deserves unlimited access to you. If this helped you see things differently, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss the next one.